The franchise actually began back in 2010 with an animated version that was absolutely amazing. It turned into a legendary movie franchise with 3 main films. So if you haven't yet watched the animated version of the movies, I'll drop a link here so you can go and watch it. This new movie is basically a live-action version of the original animated one. The story begins in a small town called Burke. Their biggest problem is the dragons who frequently attack the village and carry away their livestock. Then we see a leader of this village who is a strong and powerful man named Stoic. He is seen fearlessly fighting off dragons. This powerful village leader has a son named Hiccup, who is the complete opposite. Hiccup is thin, weak, and struggles to even lift a weapon. The biggest problem in the village is the constant dragon attacks. These dragons not only destroy the village, but also steal their animals. The villagers are frustrated and want a solution. Hiccup, however, is assigned simple tasks like sharpening weapons or fixing swords. Stoic's close friend, Gobber, is also shown. He always tells Hiccup to stay back and handle the weapons, not the dragons. But Hiccup wants to prove himself. He secretly builds a dragon-catching device and decides that this time he will prove his worth. Hiccup secretly goes to an open field with his dragon-catching device. Then Hiccup fires his dragon catcher blindly into the sky, hoping to hit something. But we see a large dragon appear near him. In a panic, Hiccup tries to escape, but ends up causing chaos and almost burns down half the village. At that moment, his father, Stoic, arrives and kills the attacking dragon. He then scolds Hiccup harshly, blaming him for always creating trouble. After the incident, a big meeting is called in the village, and all of them had one common problem. They were being troubled by dragons. Their main goal was to find the dragon's home base and destroy it completely so that the dragon attacks would finally stop. In the meeting, there's also an old woman who is known for making prophecies. She throws some dragon bones on the ground as part of her ritual, and from that, she predicts that yes, this time they will be able to find the dragon's nest. Meanwhile, Stoic is visibly worried. He talks to his friend whether his son will ever become the next leader or not. The next day, we see Hiccup tries to figure out where his dragon catcher might have landed. If it hit a dragon, where would it have fallen? He wanders through the forest. That's when he sees it, a dragon. To his surprise, Hiccup realizes that he has captured the most powerful dragon of all, the Night Fury. He thinks, this is my chance to prove myself, that I can be a true Viking. He takes out a small knife and slowly approaches the trapped Night Fury. The dragon has given up hope and closes its eyes. Hiccup also closes his eyes, ready to strike, but he can't do it. Instead, he unties the ropes and sets it free. And even though the Night Fury could have easily attacked him, but it simply looks at Hiccup and flies off into the woods. Back at home, Hiccup can't stop thinking about the moment. But when he tries to talk to his father about it, Stoic firmly tells Hiccup, if a dragon ever comes face to face with you, it's only to kill you. He urges Hiccup to become a real Viking and to kill a dragon as soon as possible. Stoic then gathers a team of warriors to continue their mission. Stoic sets out with his warriors to find the dragon's nest. The next day, training begins for all the young people of Burke. Among them is a girl named Astrid, whom Hiccup secretly likes. Along with her, there are other teenagers who constantly make fun of Hiccup for being weak. Gobber is in charge of training them. He brings out real dragons for training. As Gobber releases the first dragon, all the kids are running around, trying to defend themselves. Hiccup, meanwhile, is quietly trying to figure things out in his own way. Hiccup, during training, finds himself face to face with a dragon, thinking it might spare his life like the Night Fury did. But this dragon was in a wild, angry state and was about to burn Hiccup alive. Thankfully, Gobber arrives just in time and saves him. Gobber gives Hiccup a firm warning. Next time, don't stand in front of a dragon. You'll get roasted. Hiccup is left confused again. Why did the Night Fury spare my life? His curiosity leads him back into the forest. There, he discovers the Night Fury is still nearby, staying in a small lake. Hiccup realizes it can't fly. One of its tail wings is broken. That's why it's been stuck there. Hiccup sits quietly and begins sketching the dragon. Later that night, Gobber brings out a thick, old book and tells them, this book has everything we've learned about dragons over the years. The children were supposed to study the book to prepare for any kind of dragon attack, but most of them weren't really interested. Meanwhile, Hiccup tries to talk to Astrid, but she doesn't seem interested in him at all. In her eyes, Hiccup was the chief's son, which meant he had all the advantages. And yet, he was still weak, skinny, and couldn't even fight a dragon. She felt he was wasting his life. Meanwhile, Hiccup stayed focused on the dragon book. However, to his disappointment, there's hardly anything written about it because no one had ever seen it clearly. All the book says is that Night Fury is the fastest dragon, and the best thing you can do is avoid it at all costs. But Hiccup continues his secret research, trying to learn more on his own. Afterward, Hiccup thinks that the Night Fury might be hungry. He takes some fish and quietly approaches it. The Night Fury cautiously comes forward because it's very hungry and eats the fish. Now, the Night Fury wanted to be friends with Hiccup to show that it ate half of the fish and spit the other other half out for Hiccup to eat. Hiccup didn't want to eat raw fish, but to not upset the dragon, he took one bite. After eating the fish, Hiccup wanted to take a closer look at the dragon, and surprisingly, the Night Fury smiled. That's when Hiccup noticed this dragon had no teeth, so he jokingly gave him a name, Toothless. Hiccup came close again, trying to touch him, but Toothless wouldn't let him. It was now nighttime, but Hiccup still hadn't left. He quietly sat nearby, drawing Toothless. Toothless saw him doing that, and then, using a big stick, Toothless started drawing too. He made marks in the dirt. If Hiccup touched a line by mistake, Toothless would growl, but if he moved his foot away, Toothless would smile. They continued playing like this for a while, and finally, Hiccup succeeded in gently touching him. It was a big moment. That same night, while other kids sat together talking about how to defeat dragons, Hiccup didn't join them. Instead, he stayed up late working on Special Wing for Toothless to help him fly again. The next day, Hiccup distracts Toothless by bringing him a bunch of fish. While feeding him, Hiccup also discovers dragons hate eels, especially the electric ones. While Toothless is distracted, Hiccup quietly climbs onto his back and attaches the small artificial wing he made. That's when Hiccup quickly opens the new artificial wing. Toothless catches some wind and starts flying. Both of them end up crashing straight into the water. After that, the story cuts back to the dragon training sessions. But this time, Hiccup stands out. When a dragon appears, it suddenly gets scared and backs away instead of attacking, because Hiccup had secretly kept an eel fish in his pocket. Now, Hiccup started riding Toothless regularly and training with him, but he still didn't know how to fully control the small artificial wing. One day, while flying, they crash-landed into a garden where Hiccup discovered dragons are extremely allergic to small, fluffy flowers. When dragons sniff these flowers, they start sneezing a lot. In the next training session, Hiccup brought those flowers with him. When a dragon came toward him, he threw the flowers at it, and the dragon started sneezing. All the other kids were shocked. They couldn't understand how the dragons were scared of Hiccup. One day, while playing with Toothless, Hiccup found something new when he gently rubbed Toothless under the neck. Toothless felt relaxed and even fell asleep. So in the next training session, when a big dragon charged toward him, Hiccup calmly rubbed under its neck, and the dragon immediately calmed down and went to sleep. Then we see Stoic, who had returned from his journey with only a few men and fewer boats. They had lost many people and still hadn't found the dragon's nest. When he arrived back home, everyone started talking about Hiccup, how brave and skilled he had become. Stoic was happy and excited, thinking his son had now become a warrior who could kill dragons. But in reality, he had become the first human to ever ride a dragon. This time, Hiccup was flying high in the air on Toothless. They didn't yet fully understand how to control everything. They crashed several times, even almost fell into the water. Hiccup kept thinking about how he would tell his father that he had become friends with a dragon. Hiccup's father, Stoic, was very proud of him. Stoic gave him a helmet, saying it was made from parts of his mother's helmet and his own. He had high hopes that Hiccup would easily defeat a dragon. The next day, everyone gathered in the training center. A lot of people were watching the final test. As usual, Hiccup calmly guided them back to their places. When it was down to the final round between Astrid and Hiccup, he ended up winning. Later, Astrid secretly followed Hiccup and discovered the place where he used to hang out with Toothless. Seeing a human, Toothless got ready to attack, but Hiccup stopped him. Astrid warned, "I'm going to tell everyone about this." Toothless didn't like that at all, so he picked her up and flew her high into the sky like he was punishing her. Astrid got really scared and finally shouted, "I won't say anything." Only then did Toothless calm down and gave them a smooth, pleasant ride. During the ride, Astrid realized that dragons weren't actually evil. Toothless then took them to a hidden place, a secret dragon home where all the dragons live. At first, the place looked beautiful, but soon it felt a bit scary. In the middle of that place lived a giant dragon queen. She ruled over all the dragons and forced them to bring her food. If any dragon disobeyed, she would kill them. That's why the dragons were stealing animals. The next day, Hiccup had to fight in a big match. He was supposed to kill a dragon in front of everyone, but Hiccup had made up his mind. He would try to show everyone that dragons are not monsters, that they're actually peaceful if treated well. The match started, and Hiccup stepped forward, dropped his weapons, and calmly stood in front of the dragon. But the chief, Stoic, couldn't accept this. He shouted and ran toward them to fight the dragon. Suddenly, the dragon panicked and went wild. The Night Fury, sitting nearby, realized that Hiccup was in danger. It easily slipped inside the field and went in. He fought the big dragon and defeated it within 2 minutes. But as soon as everyone saw the Night Fury, they were shocked. Hiccup tried to explain that he had come to save him and that no one should harm him. But Stoic wasn't ready to listen. He ordered his men to attack the Night Fury. Now, the Night Fury, Toothless, was very strong. He could have defeated anyone. But because of Hiccup, he didn't fight back. He just sat there quietly. Hiccup cried and begged his father to let Toothless go. He said, "He won't hurt anyone. I've seen where they live. There's a giant queen dragon, and all the other dragons serve her." When Astrid heard that the dragons had a home, he was shocked. His own wife had been taken by a dragon in the past. Hiccup, however, wanted to break this cycle of revenge. Still, Stoic ordered Toothless to be imprisoned. Then he gathered a large group of men and tied Toothless to the front of his ship so he could lead them to the dragon nest. Hiccup was left behind. Astrid came to him and reminded him, "You were the first person to ride a dragon. You can do so much more." Her words gave Hiccup confidence. Meanwhile, Stoic followed Toothless all the way to the dragon's nest. He quietly reached the place where all the dragons live. At the same time, Hiccup gathered his friends, those who once doubted him. He took them to the dragons, trained them, and made them friendly with the dragons. Since they didn't have ships, they used dragons to fly. Stoic and his people were now ready for battle. They had brought bombs, weapons, and built a huge boundary. And then the attack began. Many dragons had already flown out of the nest, so Stoic and his men thought, "There are only few dragons." But just then, a massive fireball dropped into the middle of the area, and everything changed. The main queen of the dragons, the giant monster dragon, came out. As soon as she appeared, panic spread. Everyone began running to save their lives. People were screaming, running here and there. Seeing the chaos, Stoic yelled at his people, "Move back." But it was too late. The giant dragon was already there, attacking everyone with fire. Stoic realized that if they wanted to save everyone, they had to distract the big dragon. He pushed a giant stone weapon and launched it toward the dragon. The idea was to get the dragon's attention so others could escape, and it worked. As soon as the weapon hit, the giant dragon turned its full attention to Stoic and Gabber. Meanwhile, everyone else tried to escape, but the dragon breathed out a massive fireball, burning many people and setting everything around them on fire. The ship Toothless was tied to also fell into the water. Hiccup had finally arrived with his full team. Things were getting worse. Everything was burning. Toothless had fallen into the ocean, and Astrid was stuck on top of someone, trying to survive. Meanwhile, one of Hiccup's friends was trying to damage the giant dragon's eye. Toothless was underwater, trapped. Without thinking, Hiccup jumped in to save him. But the trap holding Toothless was huge and strong. Hiccup didn't have the strength to break it alone. At that moment, Stoic, Hiccup's father, finally realized that his son was right. Dragons weren't the enemy. They could actually help people. First, Stoic pulled his son out of the water. Then he himself freed Toothless by breaking his chains. Toothless was about to come out of the water, but instead of saving only himself, he helped the man who had just saved him too. Toothless then looked at Hiccup and called him over. Their bond was unbreakable. Hiccup quickly got on Toothless' back, took control, and they flew into the air together. Down below, everyone was watching. Hiccup and Toothless were flying circles around the huge dragon, trying to confuse it. Toothless also had lightning powers. Using them, he kept shocking the big dragon again and again. The wings of the giant dragon were burned and torn apart by now. Hiccup had a plan. When the monster builds fire in its stomach to spit flames, Toothless would shoot lightning into it, so the dragon would explode from its own fire. But things went wrong. The giant dragon set the whole sky on fire. One of Toothless' tail wings caught fire, making him lose control. They started falling. But just before falling, Toothless managed to launch a huge blast. The plan worked. The giant dragon exploded from its own fire and fell to the ground. But Hiccup lost control and started falling too. Everyone rushed to find him. They saw Toothless, but Hiccup was nowhere in sight. No one knew where he had fallen. Everyone was heartbroken. Stoic cried, blaming himself for not trusting his son. Astrid cried. Then, something unbelievable happened. Toothless slowly opened his wings, and there, under them, he was holding Hiccup safely. Toothless had protected Hiccup the whole time. Hiccup was alive. Everyone was overjoyed when they found out. When Hiccup finally opened his eyes, everything in Burke had changed. Toothless was now living with Hiccup like a friendly pet. Then Hiccup noticed something heartbreaking. His leg was gone. He had lost it in the final battle. In its place, someone had fitted a metal hook-like leg. He was now living with one leg. As Hiccup stepped out, it was like a dream come true. Everywhere he looked, the people of Burke were living happily with dragons. Every single villager had a dragon. Even his father, who once hated dragons, was now riding one with a big smile on his face. Everyone had accepted dragons as friends. Astrid also arrived and walked up to Hiccup. They smiled at each other with love and understanding. Then Gabber came with a gift for Hiccup, a new wing for Toothless. This meant Toothless could now fly again. Hiccup fixed the wing on Toothless, and together, with their friends and their dragons, they took to the skies. They flew freely in the open air. And this is how the first live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon comes to an end. See you all in the next movie recap. Until then, goodbye.